hopes of a ceasefire deal in Gaza, the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said that the deal should allow Israel to resume fighting until its objectives are met. This comes after Hamas approved a U.S. proposal for a phased ceasefire deal, dropping a key demand for a complete end to the war. However, Hamas still wants written guarantees from mediators that Israel will continue to negotiate a permanent ceasefire deal once the first phase goes into effect. The apparent compromise was expected to deliver the first pause in fighting since November, set the stage for further talks on ending the war and free Israeli hostages held in Gaza. Now, after Hamas's statement, talks over the U.S. plan were expected to restart. 5 days after the approval, Hamas officials have said they are awaiting Israel's response. Netanyahu was scheduled to hold consultations on Sunday on the next steps, but his statement has hindered the deal. Netanyahu has said that the plan that has been agreed to by Israel will allow the return of hostages without infringing on other objectives of the war. Israel says Hamas is still holding about 120 hostages, but about a third of them now are thought to be dead, and calls for their return have continued to only intensify. Sunday marked 9 months since the start of the war in October. Thousands of Israeli protesters gathered outside Netanyahu's private home in Jerusalem. Another protest was held on the main highway in Tel Aviv. Waving banners and flags, the protesters demanded that the Prime Minister accept the ceasefire deal. They also called for fresh elections after the deal.
We came here today to get our voices heard. We want to say that we want our brothers and sisters that are hostage in Gaza back home. We want this crazy, insane war to end. We want elections now, so we have a new leadership that really cares about us.
Meanwhile, there has been no let-up in the offensive in Gaza. Israeli forces have issued new evacuation orders in several districts of Gaza City. The move has led to the displacement of dozens of families. And our correspondent Jody Cohen sent us this report from Israel on the very latest. Take a look.
9 months since Hamas took Israeli hostages, and talks are set to continue this week. Prime Minister Netanyahu has announced 4 principles for a deal. These highlight the remaining gaps in the two sides, and there were large protests in Jerusalem and Tel Aviv over the weekend, calling on the government to agree to a deal, as well as calling for elections. Now, Israel wants to ensure that Hamas can't rearm or reposition during any truce, and that Israel could resume fighting if necessary to achieve its war goals, including the return of all 120 remaining hostages. Meanwhile, Gaza City residents say they're seeing some of the heaviest fighting since the start of the war, and exchanges of fire are continuing also between Hezbollah in Lebanon and Israel. According to sources, all sides are expected to step up negotiation efforts in the coming days. This is Jody Cohen for WION World is One.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.